So, I'm going to learn a little bit about Chanukah. And, the first thing in Chanukah that the Torah brings down, it's very interesting. Purim, what did you say? The Torah. The Torah says, explains, and the Rambam, Purim, the Haman wanted to wipe us out. La Hashmid, la Harig, la Abi, Eskala Edom. Wanted to literally wipe out the Jewish nation. The Yevonim didn't want that. The Yevonim wanted we should assimilate. They didn't like that we have a different religion, we're different, and you should join the whole world, be like everyone, you know what I mean? And so that's why the Torah says that Chanukah, the Chazal made the mitzvah, lahoidos, elahalal, leshabeach. There's a very famous question everyone asks. And the one saw on the table, the Babich, and the one of the skin trace, and the Babich, both sides all shtick of everyone. This is old kasha. We say, "Bekavi shmoinas and Chanukah eli lahoidos, elahalal, leshabeach." Doesn't say lighting the candles. Amazing. When you look in the Rambam says lighting the candles is a way of the Shabbat Lahoidos. Normally you learn there's two mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to say Hallel, and there's a mitzvah to light the candle. You're busy lighting the candles. Lighting the candles is a symbolic way how we thank Hashem. Because that's why we only say Kol v'shemein Lahoidos Lahallel. So it's part of thanking Lahoilos. We do something. We light the candle. But lighting the candle is thanking Hashem that He saved us. So I just want to say, the Shiurim say a very, very profound thing that comes out. Purim is the food we eat with what we eat. As Hashem says, this food is the food that we eat. That's we're eating. It's the esophagus. And what is lahoidos lahalal? That's the air. The two simonim. A person has two simonim. That's by his throat, one the esophagus and one of the windpipe. So the Purim is a suda, the whole thing, because we celebrate that we were now wiped out. What's his name is Chanukah is lahoidos lahalal. Is the main thing is to our windpipe, sort of to say. Anyway, so there's a very famous question. Is there a mitzvah to make a suda? Everyone, Chanukah party. Where does this come from? So, it doesn't say clearly. No.
Since there was a Purim, there had to be a Hanukkah
then? It doesn't have to be. It's just the Rebbe made sure that's going to happen. In Kabbalah, the Rizal says these two things literally saved us in the future in Golus. But it's not so much the Rambam, the Shilti Geborim. There's a sefer called Shilti Geborim, where early commentary on the Mordcha says that Purim always comes out in Parshas Miketz, usually. Chanukah, I'm saying, Chanukah. And we say, in the reading of the Torah, it says by Yosef invited his brothers to join for the meal. It says, Tveich tuvich shechtet, v'hochein in prepared. If you take the word Tveich, v'hochein is oisius Chanukah. Amazing. This is a Rishon who says this. So you see, there's a Tveich, you take the ches, and v'hochein. And together is the Tveich tuvich means he prepared a meal, and he shechtet prepared, we take the ches. There's a remez to what's the name. There's a well, the meaning was, you see that they made a Chanukah, people made a Suda, and it's part of Chanukah they used to and many hold it to see this mitzvah. Why is this Negeya? Can a Uvel go to a Chanukah party? If it's a Sudas mitzvah, then you could go. But if it's not a Sudas mitzvah, Pashtas a Uvel, a real Uvel, shouldn't go. I have in our community, someone passed away and he left over younger Simon. So the principal asked me, I says, for young, even though she's 15, you could be makel. Because many hold that it has to be a real Sudas mitzvah, not something that, And then someone asked me, Mamish today, asked me about, the gifts, Chanukah gifts. I want to tell you something. I never heard about it when we were growing up. Geld. They gave geld. They gave geld was to play the dreidel. Gifts, I never heard till I. The goyim. You see that wherever the geld is mentioned, they used to give it. The Mugavro mentions they used to go give tzedukah for the. Chanukah is a time to give tzedukah, but Chanukah geld, because to pay dreidel. But the whole things of gifts. Okay, so let me explain the halacha. It's very interesting. Such a simple halacha could become so complicated. So let me start. Chazal v'Masakin, the only mitzvah which the Chazal gave levels. You know that? The Salcha says, Ner ish ibeisoi. That means you light one candle for the whole household. That's the main mitzvah. No matter how many people they are, it's one candle for the household. That's the Chazal made the mitzvah. Then it says the Mahadrem, you should light for each person. You know what I mean? Not just one candle for the whole household. If there's 4 of you, you lit 4 candles.
Each night, 4 candles.
Yeah, each night, exactly. Each night 4. Do you know that Shabbos, we Ashkenazim, for each child we light a candle. Chabados for each child. Where does this come from? The Gemara compares always these 2 things. So with Chanukah, just like Chanukah, the Mahadrim is make for each child, each member of the family, you light a candle. If you have 4 members, or let's say even you have a baby, a member or no member, so you light for how many people are in the household. So Neder Shabbos, you light for every person in a. It became a minig that even though they left the house, you still keep on lighting the Shabbos left.
Is this aside from the menorah?
This is talking about Shabbos candles.
No, the when you were talking about lighting one.
The lighting. So we're talking about the main mitzvah. The main mitzvah is 1 candle for the whole household. The next level was each person should light, if you have 5 people, you lit 5 candles every night. The next level was that you light 1, and the next night you do 2, like we do. Now then there's another machlekes. So each one in the household do this, or that was the machlekes Ashkenazim, the Sfardim. We have a minik, we Ashkenazim, every male lights the candles. So we yoitze both. That means everyone lights, and they make mahadrim and shov mahadrim. Understand? But it's amazing. Only Ner Chanukah has this specialty of mahadrim and the mahadrim. And the simple, I don't want to go into so everyone, the Rabbi you teach Chassidus, but in the simple, the way the Rishonim explain this, Ner Chanukah represents Torah. Since there was Torah, there is mahadrim, more and more. It has hidurim in the Torah. That's what it does. Oh, so why do women not light candles?
Why do
Never was a minig that the woman light candles, unless she's almana or grusha. But never was it. The Rishonim say, and the Sefer says a very simple explanation, because kveidu bas melech pnimo. Really, we don't want woman to wandering outside. The mitzvah is to light. We learn to see in the front of the house. That's the main mitzvah. We'll get to it later why things change. But the mitzvah the Chazal wanted, you should light at the front of your house. Put the candle at the door of your house to outside. That was the main mitzvah. And because that means the lady has to go outside, a lady doesn't belong outside. The Chazal did not want to make a mitzvah which the principle, we don't think women should be praying outside. That's why, the same reason, why do not women make Kiddush Levana? Why don't they make Kiddush? Women like to do mitzvahs, they don't make Kiddush Levana. Yeah, but as many mitzvahs they do. Your woman listen to shofar, they shake the lulav, they want to eat in the sukkah. Kiddush Levana don't do. So the Ba'al Kibbulim say Kibbulish answer, but the Nigla teretz is because since Kiddush Levana you have to go outside. Kiddush Chama. You know what Kiddush Chama we did 4 years ago? Kiddush Chama. So why do women not do that? Because it belongs in, it's koide bas melech pnimo. Since these are the mitzvahs, you go outside. We didn't want The Rabbanim did not want to make a mitzvah. It should be opposite what the real.
So in a house of only girls, only one person lights?
Only one person lights. Sure. I had a lot of daughters. Only one. They didn't light. No woman ever lit. Even Chabad, the women don't lit. The only thing they light is Shabbos candles, and that's their chiyuv.
If they made it
They
in
shouldn't.
school,
Yeah, that's for the young 5-year-old. I'm not talking about those children.
I'm saying there's nothing wrong with
No, there's nothing wrong. We're talking about once they get to age, as we say.
I think that'd be a shalom bias issue. My wife, I told her I could light the Shabbos Hanukkah candles.
The what and here, the what?
If I was to say that my wife should not light Hanukkah candles, I don't think she would like that.
Oh, she also lights her own, you mean?
Yeah.
Can't say it's wrong. Nothing can make it wrong. The same thing you should know that lighting Shabbos candles is also, she does it for you. Just like the house, just like you light a candle for the whole house, your wife and children are yoitzah, ikar adin. We'll get to it, someone's not home, what to do. But ikar adin, so let me explain to you a quick shala. People have called me already. His wife goes twice a week, she goes to the college, and she comes those after 11, the afternoon course, whatever. And a young lady, and he says, he asked me, what should I do? I said, me'ikar adin. I said like this. Me'ikar adin, I'll explain later, but let me just say briefly, me'ikar adin, you should light, and she doesn't have to hear. Because ner isha beisa, she doesn't have to be there. That's me'ikar adin. But
She's lighting for me.
No, we're talking about
Chanukah. So Chanukah, you light the Chanukah. That really was when you light Chanukah. Let's say your wife is not listening. She happened to be in the bathroom. His wife is in college. Twice a week she comes from 11. So she's yoitza, 100% yoitza. Just like your wife light candles. Are you home when she light candles? I'm never home. I go to shul early. You don't have to be home. I'm yoitza with her candle lighting. Do you know that? If your wife is not home, she's in Etzisol, you're home, you have to light candles. So when your wife light candles Friday night, you're yoitza with it. You don't have to be standing and listening. Here too, the same. We're soon going to explain. Chanukah, there's a small difference. We'll get to it later because of the bercha shus nisim. That's a big machlokes in the Rishonim. If I wasn't home, you have to make shus nisim navaseni. But many Rishonim hold you don't. The one who lights should make it. And the Gemara says that Rabbi Bahava, he did it. He stayed in Besmedish. She didn't want to go home. His wife lit, made all the brachas. That's what the Rishonim push him.
Isn't that a desire for the man, though, that a woman's saying brachas for him?
She's not saying for him. She has a mitzvah. She's own mitzvah. When it's her own mitzvah, it's not a bezoin.
To light the
Because if he's not home, then she has an obligation to light the Chanukah licht. Just like your wife lights the Shabbos candles, she's yotze you. He lights the menorah, and he's yotze his wife. That's like the mitzvah. You don't have to make a shliach your wife. I don't have to say make you shliach. It's automatic. Ner ishabais is automatic. So let me explain something. This is very interesting. In Eretz Yisrael, let me tell you what happened in Eretz Yisrael. Let's start from the beginning. B'mei Chazal, the Chazal instituted, you should light the candles as soon as it gets dark. Machlokes in the Rishonim, the Gemara says, Meshetishka achama, when the sun goes down. Many learn, means as soon as the sun sets, you should light. Many Rishonim, that's in your Shleim Digaminig is that way. Shleim Digaminig is, as soon as the sun sets, the others learn, it's Sof Shkia. Chabad, they do Sof Shkia? I mean, yeah, but it's mashma, you do it. Mashma mamish like not when it gets very late, right after. It's about 18 minutes after sunset. Because why do they, the Gemara says you should light, how much should be lit? You should light, there were peddlers running around the streets and someone needed fire, and they had this firewood, special type of firewood, and they only ran out and it was still light, it was pitch dark. There was no cars, there was no lights, so there was a little light outside. And the Gemara seems to say that's the time to light. In Toises holds, in Zman HaGemara, if you lit, and one teretz of Toises, you lit after the time, you're not yoitzer. It's like a guy's going to light Chanukah Lechter Uder. The time, or middle of the day. The time is only then. But what happens, the Gemara says, what happens is, the Gemara says, when it's a dangerous situation, let me add something. The mitzvah was to light in the front door. And that's It's not a hiddur. Chazal made ner isha beisoy, and there should be a Pesach habayis. What happened is the Gemara says there was chavre were the chabarim were the ones who worshipped the fire. The Persians, the zodiacs it's called. Zoroastrians. They worshipped the fire, and they had a gezerah that there's no fire allowed to be. So the Gemara says, "Mamukim skuna, light inside the house." So now, see, when I lit outside, it had to be when people walking around outside. You understand? Because when we lit out, the mitzvah was to light, not for yourself. People should see this light. It's very interesting. I am lighting here that everyone knows that I am acknowledging Chanukah. So it wasn't like, we have to understand how life was. As soon as it got dark, no one walked the streets. They didn't have, how do you walk the streets? It was pitch dark. I was Uman in the beginning when I was there, the first 20 years ago, there's no lights. There is no lights. We grew up now that way. There's, you have to, I suffered the darkness. Our people could see it a little bit in the dark. I don't know, it's dark, it's dark. Anyways, the point is that no one walked the streets. There's nothing to light candles anymore. Toises hold, not yet in the mitzvah. The question is now, the Gemara says, but if it's dangerous outside, then you light inside. Do I have to light the right time? And the Shiurim says, and anyway, it's not doing for the outside, the Pesima is the inside. So many Shiurim hold that now it was through Golas, we were afraid to light outside. We lit inside. In Persia, they lit outside, would you know? No. So they lit, because there are countries, I was told, Sfardish country, Amon Safari told me that he's from Morocco, they lit outside in Morocco.
Probably not anymore.
Right now that it's not dangerous, you shouldn't be lighting outside.
Yeah.
I'm saying when it was dangerous, when it was dangerous, they didn't light outside. So, but in the Ashkenazim, it was always. The reason the Ashkenazim is so dangerous, you know what? Because it was always came out in the Chag season. You know, the Sfardim don't have this. In the Sfardish country, there's no. Chag means Christmas. We call their Chag, so they don't have at this time a special. The Muslims don't have a special Yontiv now, but also it always was, and it was always dangerous. The going would be angry that the Jews are lighting. There was a lot of tension. Christmas was a lot of tension because the Galach would get up and incite everyone. The Jews had thought that Jesus is not here. I don't know if you know this. This was a fact of history. Anyway, so they did not light outside. Most people lit inside. Almost everyone. So now you light inside. So now there's many Rishonim hold since are lighting inside. The Pesimis Nitz is not for the people walking in the street. Then you can light all night long. And that's something you can do with Paskim. You come home very late, you can light. Because today, it's not anymore outside. Now the question is in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yashav held, and many others held, things turn now, go to the original. It's not dangerous in Yerushalayim. They're not afraid of the going in Yerushalayim. And is obligated to light outside. Understand? So Mamela, he held, many held that you must light right away. You can't light late. He held that if you light late, you're not Yotzei the mitzvah. Because nowadays, it's back to the Gemara. Like you have to light when people walking around. But others a little disagreed with him because maybe since we can move the mitzvah, people walk around much later today. Which was electricity. Those days, no one walked around. You have to remember, you have to understand how life was. It was dark, no one walked around. There was no one there.
According to his shita, when would you become not Yotzei anymore?
But what?
According to his shita, at what point do you not become Yotzei?
He says after half hour.
Half hour.
Whenever the half hour is, because we know it's a half hour, it's after dark. Whatever shit you hold to light, if you hold tishka means sovshkia, half hour afterwards it's too late. But many disagreed with him. Because they said, let's follow the reasoning of the Gemara. If the mitzvah could change when it's danger, because the Gemara says we can light inside the house, then you don't have to light in that time because it's only for the family. So now things change on the streets. Today, a normal place in Yerushalayim, people wander. Anyone who was in Eretz Yisrael, people wander late, even later than here maybe. You know what I mean? People.
So what about here in the United States where you're like Chabad, they have it on their cars and outside and all this? I mean, if we're supposed to be lighting inside.
So this is an old kasha that I have. According to Chabad, if they hold it's not dangerous because the light outside menorahs, they should really light in front of the door. That's what they should do. Many I grew up, and I remember when I was young, I wanted to be Oyev Chocham, and I remember Yankov Kamenetsky said to me, "No, we're in Golis, don't young people like that's also." But if you hold, you can light, and you drive with the menorah, and then you're right. Then there's no reason. Then you obligate. If you hold, it's not dangerous. Yeah. If you hold, it's not, I don't think it's not dangerous. But if you really hold, it's not dangerous. Whatever the situation, let's say take a situation it's not dangerous, then you're obligated to light in the front. That's let's say Monsey today. I don't believe it's dangerous. The whole neighborhood is, sort of Jewish people. What do you say?
It's dangerous here to light a menorah.
I don't think so. I don't think any time Chabad had a problem because of menorah. No, they only have from the Jews who give us a problem. So is the I say neighbor. So is the Jews.
Lighting outside, you yourself hold. You don't think you should do that.
I grew up in he said that Rabbi Yankiv was a good lador, and he says no, it's not so. He held that he shouldn't do it. But coming back, so you understand, this is the question. The question, because now I want to explain something very important. Maybe the people don't understand. Lighting by the door, is the question you need a mezuzah. Chazal wanted you to light outside. Period. Then the Gemara says, since I'm lighting outside, which side of the door shall I light? So the Gemara says, one of them says you should light in the mezuzah because, no, the opposite. You should walk through two mitzvahs. You have mezuzah on one side and the menorah on the other side. But that is because we want you to light outside, else persimam nisa. Now we light inside. It seems pusha the Gemara. You can light any place. So many hold up here. Many hold no outside of Inyan. It's still an Inyan to light at the door, but not the door is the mitzvah. You understand? The mitzvah was if you're lighting outside, then you must light at the door. And which side of the door? Once you light inside, you can light any place. But we do it by the door because since when you light outside, you light at the door. We light inside, we also light at the door. You understand? But let's say you can't light at the door, you can light at the window. Almost every Achronim held. If let's say, then you should light at the window. If you hold it's not dangerous now, you should light it with the front door. And if you can't light from the front door, whatever reason, you should light at the window, because that's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is the Pesima Nissa. So now let me go back to the original question. What happens because so many people are going to Eretz Yisrael? It's amazing. In my shul, 3 people went to Eretz Yisrael. Just for Chanukah, they could afford it, and whatever. But and then I have people call me. They're not leaving before; they're leaving middle Chanukah. So this is a big problem. So let me first explain something. What happens? Okay, I explained. Everyone agrees. Me'ikar halacha. If your wife is home, she could light for you. You're home, you could light for your wife. What happens? Both are not home. He goes to Eretz Yisrael and she goes to her parents' house. So you can't say, because there's most poskim hold, Ner Ishibesa means is where you and your husband live. If you're both not home, this is our abode. That's just saying, we live here. But now he took a trip to Eretz Yisrael and she decided to go to her parents. So your lighting is not going to be Yotze her, and she lighting is not going to be Yotze you. It has to be in your house. You understand?
So people say that they both have to light.
Both have to light. So she should be mishtatev. Let's say she's staying by, let's say a guy in my community, younger man. So I said, you should be mishtatev bepruta. Going to your parents. You're not part of the household. You have to, mishtatev bepruta means you're supposed to give a coin and say, I'm a shittev in your shaman, oil or the wick. I'm a partner of it. Because when do you become a household? This is a very famous question. When does a person become part of a household? Some are medayik from the Shulchan Aruch that it's enough that you are staying there for Shabbos and not here in Hilchos Shabbos. Right? It's not such a maldig. Someone medayik in his words. Other learn has to be, the illusion is kviyas, you have to be part of the household for 30 days. So this is the question. Let's say your children are in yeshiva. Let's say you have bachar in yeshiva. They're not home. They're all yet in yeshiva. You know, many bochum who travel, a guy tells me, I wasn't home for 8 years. And what do you mean? I left as soon as I was 14 years old, and I only come home Yontav. Not always did I come home Yontav. I went to Shlichus here. But even he does come home, let's say, every Yontav, but 80% of the time he's not home. Right? Your son is 80% of the time not home. So you can't say, I belong to the household. So that was a big machlokes in Chachmei Yisrael. How do you, if your son comes home, is he called part of your household or not part of your household?
Today they like anyone.
Right, anyways, let's say a daughter. If a daughter doesn't live at home. Or she can't light, or the guy didn't light. You understand? What makes it a household? See, Ner Ishibesa, so it doesn't have to mean, I'm going to explain something very important. Ner Ishibesa doesn't have to mean that it's your son. If you have someone living in the house with you, a mother-in-law, or let's say someone, you know, that's included. That's part of the household and is included. So a bach in yeshiva, if he comes home, he has to light. The question is for the Sfardim. This is really the question. The Sfardim, you know, the Sfardim, the makbid only the how you say the English, the Rasha B'Chabura. Sfardim are extremely makbid. Sfardi told me that he came home from yeshiva and he wanted to light at home. His father is not even a Talmud Chacham. He was such an insult. He was like, "You're not going to be yoitza with my lighting." Yeah, you know. They hold that the head of the household shall light, but again, if the bocher is not, most of the time not home, he has to light himself. And the minig was, but the Sfardim not that way. The bocher came home, he didn't light,
Just like
and they struggle very much. The person what?
even in yeshiva, just if they're going to light without a rabbi. You're away in yeshiva.
The Sfardim, right? I saw that, but he just said the Sfardim. No, they held. They. It's good to remind me. I saw this in a sefer. What is it called? Letzion. What's his name again? Yeah, what's his name? He held that he brings the meaning was, but the Sfardim they would go away in yeshivas, and they were not light. So now the yeshivish people tell them to light without a bracha. They would not light. The meaning in the old country was that they went to yeshiva, they didn't light. They were yotzei with their father at home. But that was a big pick, so they light in the yeshiva. And,
Is there a difference between the two brachas? Like
oh, so this I was going to explain. Now, the Gemara says it's called Berches Haroya. You know Berches Haroya? Let me explain the Gemara says. The Gemara says that if you're not going to light, and you see Chanukah, you should say, She'us nisna v'sein b'yom ha'mizman hazeh. So who did they make this for? So why is this so important? Let me tell you. I have a guy calls me up. Wednesday they're flying to Eretz Yisrael. You know, if you fly from here to Eretz Yisrael, it's a 1:35 flight. I don't know if you know. Anyone knows. You know, you're leaving Wednesday. I mean, means that Wednesday night there's no Chanukah light. So where are you going to light? So I'm going to say something which is very interesting. The Rishonim say, Rashi says this clearly, and Moshe has a whole truth about it. Moshe was asked this question, where should a guy light? He says, your Chanukah demands your house. Let's say I am over here. We light in the shul, right? You guys light in the shul. Am I yotzei with the lighting? No. Why not yotzei? They live here. It has to be your house. It has to be the place of your dwelling. We're going to get to later how long do I have to dwell there. So it has to be your house light. So you light in the shul, you can't be yotzei.
How can you say bracha there in the shul?
It's a very good question. We're going to get to it in a minute. Remind me in a minute. That's many. But no one could be yotzei in the shul. It has to be your house. You can't. So the question is now, you are flying in the plane. Is that your house? No. So where are you going to light? You're homeless, so to say. The Gemara says, Berches Haroya was made. If a person is homeless, he doesn't have a house, so you're going to make it, or he's traveling. He doesn't have to be like homeless. We understand homeless. He's traveling. He doesn't have, because you can't make Chanukah unless you have a house. You understand? So Mamela, that's when he was talking about Berches Haroya. Now there's a machlokes in the Rishonim that if Rabbi have a story, his wife lit for him, does he have to make Berches Haroya? Is Berches what?
Yeah, he's not allowed to.
Yeah, that's the question. Is his wife moitzah him with everything, and he does not make a bracha? He was yaitza, so he's not allowed to. Or he has to make a bracha because he did not make a shus and isim, and he is one of the cases where he has to light, say the bracha because berachas haroy. Understand? Again, there's two opinions. One opinion says berachas haroy meant as only you are not yotzei the mitzvah at all. He doesn't have a wife. He's a single guy. He's traveling. He's on the plane. He's at the airport. He's on a boat. He's not traveling. You see the Chanukah, you should make a bracha. But if someone is moitzi you, let's say he's traveling now and his wife is going to light for him, or the vice versa, he's lighting, his wife is traveling. Let's say the lady was in college at night, so he makes the bracha, she doesn't need a bracha. Others learn, no. Even though she was yotzei the Chanukah lech, but she has to make shus and isim. So mamele, she should make a shus and isim. For sufik brachas, we are makel. So one of the eitzes that Rabbi Kiva says, and many achronim. All right. So what should we do? Let's say she wants to make, because she's going to lose out these two brachas according to some opinion. Should have hepech kavana. You know what hepech kavana means? Have a mind. I don't want to be yotzei with my husband's candles. So you cannot be yotzei. It's not an automatic yotzei. If you want, you're going to be yotzei. If I have hepech kavana, so then she could come home and light the candles, make the bracha. This young man told me my wife is going to be extremely annoyed. You know, he's waiting for me. You know what I mean? So I told him a famous word. Told him there was a Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. You heard of it? He was the big Rav. He was the good Lador B'chayev in Yerushalayim. And he was makpid to light at the shkia like the Tamida grew. Even though he was, I think, a Chassidish. But anyway, he was makpid. He was Yerushalayim, the Rav. People would come watch him like kind of. And he was waiting very patiently. And his wife arrives an hour and a half late, not a word, and he lights. So, you know, the Yerushalayim, the people don't mince words. What's it those? Why? So he said, there's a famous Gemara. Gemara said, if you have one candle only to light, so what you use for Chanukah or Shabbos? So Gemara says, you use for Shabbos, a Shalom Bayis is before Chanukah. So Shalom Bayis is other. He said, away from my wife, Shalom Bayis is more important. So I said to the guy, if your wife is going to be annoyed, don't be such a frummer. Wait till she comes home and light. Shalom Bayis is more important. You know, we just learned in the Gemara. It's a really frightening Gemara. Just learned in the Gemara. I'll give you mention the two Gemaras. One of them Gemara we learned. If you learn Daf Yomi, besides you learn Daf Yomi. No. So the Gemara says a very interesting thing. That the Gemara says there's a mitzvah to make yibben, not chalitza. Chalitza b'mukamit yibben ain't a mitzvah. That means the Gemara says, I'm going to ask Esther Doi Chalitza says. So the kasha is, why Esther Doi Chalitza? You could do chalitza. The Gemara says, Yibben Mukan Chalitza ain't a mitzvah. Yeah, it's not a mitzvah. The Gemara says very clearly, the first thing they want to make sure is they're going to be shalom bayis with him in the Yevoma. If not, don't let him get chalitza. The most important thing, the Gemara, another Gemara, which is 10 blot ago, the Gemara says that if you marry your bas achoisoi, you're guaranteed whenever you daven, Hashem is going to listen to you. Do you know what Rashi says? Why?
If you're married,
your sister's daughter, your niece. Because you're going to have a greater shalom bayis. If you have a greater shalom bayis, when you daven, Hashem listens to you. So I always tell people, my shul, everyone, you know, us, the chassidim, read the svardim, the pitim, is a gula to become rich. He says everyone is busy with that. I have a eitzah what says in the Gemara. The Gemara says twice, give respect for your wife and treat her with great love and you'll become wealthy. That's not so easy. It's much easier to say Pita Maktoidis 10 times a day than after respect. Okay.
What's with the niece?
So the Gemara says that if you marry your niece, the Rebbeinu Shem is going to listen to any time you pray. Why? Because of the greatness of Shalom Bayis. Because you're going to feel much closer to her. You're much closer to your sister and your sister's children. So your Shalom Bayis is going to be better. That's how much the Rebbeinu Shem is going to listen to your tefillas.
So there's no halacha against marrying your niece?
No. You cannot marry your aunt, but you can marry your niece. It's a mitzvah to marry your niece.
If you're not married yet, once you're married, there's no mitzvah to marry your niece.
Figured that one.
So how can you do on the plane, even for the sheep?
Oh.
Because
So he's on the plane. Ramosha held that you're on the plane. That's not called a dwelling, The Marsham, you heard about the Marsham was a big guru before the war, very, very big, before World War I even. But he held that the train, talked about the train traveling, he wanted to say maybe the train is called, so they want to say maybe the train is better than a plane. But Moshe held the plane is not place of dwelling, nor is the airport. And you cannot lie there. So maybe you should not travel. I said, I can't tell you not to travel. Going to Eretz Yisrael is a mitzvah. But if you would have asked me, I would have said not to do it.
But in America, no one loses. You just light it late.
No, he's going to lose.
I'm thinking people travel here, they don't lose.
No, he gets on the plane, or here not, but he get on a plane, let's say Wednesday afternoon. You go to Eretz Yisrael, you lose a whole day. You arrive there Thursday afternoon. You lose the mitzvah one day. So I told him what you should do is, I used the Marsham holds he could, so he'll take a flashlight and light a tiny flashlight. The famous Elchonon, the Beis Yitzchak. And not only others held that you could be yotzei with a bulb. He held you could. I told him not to make the brachas because for two reasons. But Moshe held the plane is not your dwelling. It's number one. And number two, a flashlight, many held you can't. But many held that it works the same idea as a wick. Do you know how a flashlight works? It works with the same idea. There's energy. Instead of oil, there's whatever it is. And who said it has to be with oil? You know, if the lights, we don't have to take Shem Zayis. And Besmigdash was only Shem Zayis. Kol hashmanim ksherim. It's only a hiddur mitzvah. Many people don't know this. The Mishnah says, Kol hashmanim yi'u. The Maral is the only one who says, yeah, you should choose Shem Zayis. The Mishnah says, I once had a guy, a canoe, he come over in LA, and he goes to buy his Shem Zayis in the store for the Chanukah. He says, can you imagine, tells me, there's no hechsher on the... I says, what? You know, you're allowed to use chaylev? What do you mean you can use chaylev? The Mishnah in Shabbos says, you can use chaylev. Chaylev is tallow. You're allowed to use for Chanukah chazer fat. You know, I mean, there's no... no, then... Yes, a Moshe held you potter. It's not called a dwelling. So according to the Moshe, not mekayim a mitzvah. So I said, if you how you say the Ravcha the milza, do it anyway. Then I said to him, the Arachronim, which is a big chiddush, and I tried to find it, and before I came in, I think either I saw it once, it'll be Ashur, B'Shem Zalman. One of them held that you can make a shliach. The shalait at your house. Yes. It was a chiddush noted to me. A house, he says, light, right? You left today. You know, you didn't arrive yet at another place yet. So this is called your dwelling right now. Let someone light there. That's what I said. In the house. No, in the house. So in the house. What do you say? It doesn't have pruta. Pruta is only if I'm in your house. If I'm in your house, staying as a guest, I could be pruta. Only a guest. If your children don't need the pruta because they're part of the household. So he asked before about shechayoni. Why? How can we light in the shul? The reason we light in the shul is only als minig. Now I want to tell you something. This is important for the Sfardim. What's the name for you too? The Sfardim make a bracha on the shul. Yeah. Mechaber said so. What is the kasha? The Mechaber paskins, you don't make a bracha on a minig. Chabad people don't know this. I asked this to Chabad Benjamin that the Rav writes in the Siddur that only the Shliach Tzibur should make. But how come they make a bracha?
Because the Rebbe went back and forth, and the Rebbe in the Sof said that we should make a bracha.
But the Rav was.
Very few things.
All right. So the Rav says clearly that he made a pshura. He held Meikaradim, maybe you shouldn't make. So the Rav made a pshura that Shliach Tzibur should only make the bracha, and everyone to be yotzei the bracha. You know, Yerushalayim, it's interesting, the Yerushalayim follow the Rav. The Litvisha followed the Rav with this, many of the Litvisha, because of this psak. Let me explain this again. There's a question, we don't make a bracha on a minig. Where do we see that? By Harova. Harova, Ashana Rabbah, when we shake it over, do you make a bracha? No. Why don't you make a bracha? We don't make a bracha on minig. So Toy says, Takasha, why hallow? Me Ashkenazim make a bracha. That's a famous Toy says Kasha. Toy says is troubled by this. Toy says back in. And then, so we Ashkenazim do make a bracha, and the Sfardim do not make a bracha. On Halal, Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh was only a minig, not Chanukah. Chanukah is a chiyuv. Rosh Chodesh is only a minig. That's what I said. The Rav says that the Shliach Tzibur should make the bracha. So the Sfardim who don't make a bracha Halal, only Chanukah, you don't make a bracha Halal. This is the pshara. Yeah, like that's a pshara, that's a Rishonim really bring this down. So, but the many Sfardim don't. Most Sfardim don't, like the Mechaber. So the question is, why Chanukah? Even the Sfardim light in the shul. This is the famous question. And make a bracha. It's only a minik. Does not mention the Gemara. So the answer they give is like this: the Hayois, there's a huge difference. See, Halal Chodesh, no one has a mitzvah. The whole Halal Chodesh is a minik. So here is a chiyuv. There is a chiyuv to say. So since there's a chiyuv, on such a minig we do minig. Mushal, Aruva is a minig, the whole thing is a minig. So there's no one who makes a bracha. Hayois, here everyone has to make a bracha. So the minig is a different type of minig since there exists. So that's why they make a bracha on the shul. But I must tell you that almost everyone holds it has to be in a house to make a bracha. You can't make a bracha on the streets. I know, but this is mamish kamara. You learn the sugya well. You see, the biggest ner ishi beisoy. You understand? It had to be ner.
They base it on the shul.
Yeah, but you see, but even in the shul, it has to be. The Rishonim say dafka in the shul, in a place where you don't daven, only learn a b'smedrash. You don't. The Rishonim say it has to be a shul, but not a b'smedrash. The minig was only in the shul for some reason. It's not. And let's say at a wedding. Do we make a bracha at a wedding? No. The Rishonim say the minig was only in a shul. That's a separate issue. Yeah, but it has to be, it has to be someone's yotze with a necht, but no one's yotze no betzeroya.
Well, people are not lighting, you have homeless people.
I'm saying that it has to be, I can't make a berchel seroya. That means someone is lighting because he has a chiyuv and I pass by, I'm that chayfet shemitza, I make berchel seroya. You know what I'm saying? Can't make a, what do you say?
The one that's walking has to be.
Right, has to see her. So there's another question in Eretz Yisrael. You know, in Eretz Yisrael, if you ever go to the shuls, they have a bunch of small rooms. I mean, in Beis Yisrael and all the bigger shuls, even in New York, they have it. I noticed once a vision. They have a bunch of minyanim. It's a minyan factory. I'm sure Chabad doesn't have it. Yeah, but another room. And Chabad, I think that everyone is the same room. Just make every corner a separate room. So anyway, in the Eretz Yisrael, there's many places where they have rooms. The minyan and there's minyan. So the question is, mincha, when you lie between mincha, every room needs to, or one room, the main sanctuary. How in English say the main sanctuary, or the every room needs to make. So the Maisa. They held, I once saw, I don't remember the names, either Rabbi Yasher, Rabbi Shalom Zalman, the Chachma so held that each room has a Sefer Torah, that means they daven be kviyas there, you shall light. That makes it kviyas. You can't light in a place, where you don't daven only once in a while. You know what I mean? Someone asked me that they had a lawyers' meeting, and they wanted many years ago, they was going to even though just daven mincha, and he asked me, can we light, we're going to have a bunch of fried people. It was the Lubavitch who asked me this question, but the Lubavitch lawyer, he knew it was going to take a long meeting, not going to come on before 10, 11. I wanted to finish the deal. He said, this conference room, can you light? He says in Elchonon, only a b'samedrash, and it says if it's only a temporary thing that you don't daven shachris, daven just mincha there, and then you can't make a bracha. The Chachamim say has to be b'samedrash.
So those people were not going to light at home. If it was a base medrash, how do they become yotze?
They're not yotze. No one is yotze with the shliach tzibur who lights here, he has to relight at home with a bracha.
If you have a person that's not lighting and he saw it,
that's a big question. Let me explain this question. But this is there's a question on berches haroya. Let me explain this again. Berches haroya is a guy's homeless, he's traveling. Doesn't have to be homeless. The guy's traveling, and it happens to be, and it does not. You're not going to light tonight. So he sees. Can he be yotze the shul's lighting? And the reason most, almost sure everyone says not, Berchas Roy was made a tikkun that if you see someone has a lit with his chiyuv, and I'm seeing it, I make a bracha. When someone lit with there is no chiyuv, you understand? Moshe Shul, no one is yoytze with that. It's only that many. You don't make Berchas Roy. You understand what I'm saying? Berchas Roy was made. I'm seeing Yol B'Noira since you're obligated. Since you're obligated, so the guy who doesn't like the night can make a bracha. You understand? But if it's a shoe with this, it's just a minig. It's not really the mitzvah. There's no chiyuv. If they don't have to lit a half hour. You don't have to also shoe. They blow it out right away. The other places are the makpid to leave it a little while. And there's no.
The shamash, the caretaker of a shul, isn't there a concept of hiding your one?
No, he's not yoytza. It says klein Shulchan Aruch. He's absolutely not. He has to go home and make another bracha. He's not allowed to live in the shul.
So how can the people in the public become Yotze?
Who?
In these public lightings.
That I don't think the yoytza, the moitze people. I don't know.
The whole thing came up with the brachas. There was all these chuvas.
I don't know. I'm not.
Chuvas 2 years ago.
Yeah. Have to see. That's a separate, there's a, no. There's two questions. I could hear someone coming up with the chiddush that with any public area you could light, make a bracha. It's a big chiddush. But everyone agrees that you can't be yoytze if you're not living there. That no one disagrees. That's what he's asking. That's what that everyone agrees that you can be yoytze. Yeah, but if it's homeless, no, neither. The Tosis says homeless is only yoytze with Berchas Aroya. That's what Tosis says. So everyone agrees it's not Ishabesoi. That's what the Moshe says. The Moshe claims, even Masham also claims that. If you're on a plane, this is not your house. So you're on the plane, it's not a house, because you need to be in a house. Chazal said, net Ishabesoi. Can't just lie in the middle of the street. I'm talking about, forget about the guy is traveling. A guy wants, the Shoyle and the Moshe Tshuva says, I'm having a stopover at the airport, we switch planes, I'm going to be there 2 hours. Can I light candles at the what's the name? At the terminal. He said, this is not your home. It's like I'm coming into your house and I want to light. You can't light in my house. If you have to be there, you have to eat there, you have to sleep there.
When people go Motzei Shabbos and they go back home, people will say, people go to the in-laws.
Now this is a famous question. The Chazan, this is a bit, let me explain this question. A guy goes Shabbos to his in-laws. Motzei Shabbos is going back. But he wants to stay a little bit Motzei Shabbos. Where's your light? So this was a big machlokes. The Chazon said that you should not light there. Since you're leaving, you should not light there. Chazon held. You should rather go, what's the name? Go home and wait, even though it's going to be much later. You're not you can't, since you plan to go back. Shom Zalman and others held, I was there Shabbos. Till I don't move out, this is my house. I slept and ate there Shabbos. This is my house of dwelling. Someone asks you where you for Shabbat, I'm staying by my in-laws. No, you could light there. The question is to light. You understand the question? Not the question is where should you light? Motzei Shabbos, you're going to in-laws, right? Where did the valley? Right. So Shabbos, you're going to be in the valley. So now the question is, Motzei Shabbos, should you light there or should you wait till you get home? Let's say everyone's getting back together. So the Chazon Ish held, you should wait till no matter how late you get home. Because in others held, no, right now I moved into my in-laws. This is my house right now. My in-laws is my house. So Mamela, I'm now living there. So even the ones who said, according to Chazon Ish, if you're going to eat after the Menachane Kalech, you're going to still have a big meal, then you could also be Yotzeh. Even the Konta Chazon Ish, you understand? Let's say you're going to be, you want to light by your in-laws, so if you're going to eat afterwards a meal, you're going to eat there, so it's called your dwelling.
Depends how good you get along with your in-laws.
Yes.
We have a million here. 6 people that haven't done it barbecue.
What's
that question?
You must know that. I davened already.
Don't answer that one yet.
We're not done learning.
Well, and you asked the question before? You started asking something.
No.
So, not on Motzei Shabbos, let's say on a weekday.
Weekday, you can't go to your friend's house and light there. That's just important. let's say someone asked me last year, he drove all the ways, let's say to the valley. Let's say the valley, Mamish, this, let's say, wedding, let me tell you, last year a guy tells me his niece is getting married. He called me, he lives here, but he's in New York, and he was staying in a hotel, and he says, my wife wants to go early because part of the pictures. I mean, how could you not be part of the pictures? You know, it's very important. So the kids, what should I do? You know, you can't light at the hall. It's not your place of dwelling. I says, let your wife go. He says, you light. So I said to him, you could light exactly at the shkia, and if your wife could leave right at the shkia, it doesn't bother her to be a little late, then you let her listen to the bracha. You all the shittas. But you can't, you know, they were living in a hotel for 2-3 days, so this is the place of dwelling.
Can they wait till they get back after the wedding?
I mean, according to many poskim, if it's in Manhattan, you don't light in front of the thing, then you could. It's a persimonista for the household, yes.
So how long do you
But I told him the best thing is to light, and that's what he did. He light right at the shkia, because you can light, you can light by the Yevdim before the shkia. Plaga mincha the Arishonim hold you can light. But yeah, but they're like Shabbos. Every Shabbos we do that. But everyone agrees that you can light at the shkia. The machlokes was zav shkia, tchila shkia. What do you ask?
How long do you have to leave the candles burn?
You have to have a half hour.
Half hour, so
Just
you
a
have
half.
to stay there for a half hour.
Yeah, well, he could stay there. His wife was going to go for the pictures. It wasn't.
So what's better to do? Wait at shkia or wait until after the wedding?
But it's balai der shkia. That's what I told him to do. I think that's what he did.
Is watching the candles to make sure that they burn for 40 minutes?
It's a Chassidish minhag. It's not even a Bodan or Shulchan Aruch. It's from Tamid of Hashem Tov.
Oh, so you don't, then you do not have to sit there and watch the candles. Once you light, that's it.
Unless they go out, you have to relight them. If you see that they go out, you have to relight them, right?
Well, no.
No?
We paskin once you lit, and if they went out, if it shouldn't have gone out, or somebody's married, you don't have to relight them at all. You don't have to relight them at all. You hate the mitzvah.
Then you don't have to.
Right? Shalom
The
Asa.
first night,
Even the first night, you were yoitze, but the lighting and it went out, it went out. If you look at chila was a sloppy candle, or that's maybe when you knew it was going to go out, it's different. But sometimes things happen, you know what I mean. But
figure out halacha as to how long they have to burn.
like at chila, you have to put in oil for their amount to burn. Let's say half hour. Let's just say it's a half
If it
hour.
goes out, it goes out.
It goes out.
Okay, it's just the.
Unless you put in a wick that couldn't last a half hour, or the oil couldn't last a half hour. But sometimes someone passes by and shook the table, and the daigo. So you don't have to at all to put it back on. He's asking, is sitting and watching the ner. That's from Tamid Bashem Tov. It's not even mentioned just straight from Tamid Bashem Tov.
Maybe you put out the candles after a half hour.
Yes, but you should best is you have in mind that I'm going to blow it out after. I have it in mind that after I have an hour, whenever I decide, I'm going to blow it out.
So you may have used oil and it would go.
Yeah, but I have oil in my menorah. The oil could burn 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so you would.
I put it out. So I don't like, because I light by the window, and if I'm going to pull down the curtains, I'm going to sleep, whatever, or I'm leaving home, so I just I blow it out.
How do you put it? You just blow it out, or you?
That's a separate issue. You go like this.
So by the public lightings, that's what does? By the public lightings, you're saying people cannot come to see
There can't be yotzi with that. Everyone agrees to that. That you can't be yotzi. You only could be yotzi if you live there. No one is yotzi with the shoes of Chanukah left. No one. You understand? You have to have a dwelling. No, so that's it depends what shita you hold. Your Svardim hold your light when? It gets dark or beginning of the Shkia? At the Shkia. I mean, the Svardim hold, like the Rambam holds, the Gun holds, or something, they're right, so they right after lighting, they would come to Shul from Arav.
So these public lightings, then you should not use a bracha. They should not use a bracha.
Chabad is the only one who makes a bracha. Everyone holds you can't make a bracha on the public lighting.
Yeah.
The only minig was in the shul.
And,
Nope.
and also there's no, you don't get the mitzvah of rowan also.
That is a separate issue. Even in the shul, you're not yotzei mitzvahs.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to do it, get that from the house.
All right.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, they're using electric bulb, they're not using a candle.
You could. Well, there are many hold you could be yotzei with electric bulb. Many hold.
And if you're living with somebody else on a temporary basis, you're just living at somebody's house, you have to give them a coin?
You have to go with a coin. Let's say you're staying by someone's house,
Yes.
and you're not part of the household. So either you light there too, you can light there too. You have out
He
oil,
lights it,
you light it, you join
and
them.
you give
Right,
them a coin.
right.
And you light one candle for every person in the household.
Well, that depends on the minig. So I don't know how the Sfardim amak, but the only one person shall light, and he lights. But Ashkenazim, each one can light for their own. Since you're living right now in that house, you can light.
If you're in your office till very, very late, can you light there?
The many hold you can't because it's not the place of living. You sleep there. That's also a very important question what he asks. Let's say and the Bocharim always have this question: where should the light? There's two different buildings. It's not like you're in an apartment. The Bocharim eat in one building, and they sleep in a different building. And the many dormitories, I don't know, in the I grew up, you were never allowed to bring food into the dormitory. That was like a rule, and can't eat. So the question is, you should light where you eat. You should light. It's a famous question. Many hold that you should light really where you eat. Many says no. But coming back, but he was saying in the shul, but this is what you asked before, no one could be yotzei because you have to be in the place of dwelling. You don't have to be, I mean, if you're right now in the hotel for a night, you can light in the hotel.
If you're gonna have if you have a Maariv, that's Kavua, at 10
Just Marav and not Shachris, the person can say.
Maybe let's say you daven at work, or with the minion at work, early. And then you get Maariv at 10, like we have a 10 o'clock minion here. And you're regularly going there, it's better to light first and then go to that minion.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Sure. What if the minion is Kavua, but you're not so Kavua with it? Sometimes you go, sometimes not.
Yeah, I don't know Chabad. Chabad lights when it get after the Marav. What is the minig? I don't know. You have to. So you should let Mincha Marav and lighting. You should follow. You should daven Marav and then light. Oh, that's what you're asking. No. If you go all the time to Marav, no. You have to daven B'Yechidus. You're not kavua, you're not allowed to eat. You know that this is important, halacha, many people don't know. If you're not kavua, if you don't go, there's a 10 o'clock minyan, he says over here. And he comes sometimes and sometimes doesn't come. You're not allowed to sit down, eat supper till you daven Marav. If you're not kavua, it's that every night. Let's say if you come every night to the minyan, not where are you going to forget? If you don't come every night to the minyan, there are plenty of nights you don't show up. Then you should daven Marav first. You're not allowed to eat before Marav. What? Right. You need someone to remind you. So my question is, can your phone be a reminder? Someone told me that his phone is worth 10 reminder. He says, my phone rings and I don't even know why it rang.
No, don't look at them.
You don't look at him. That's exactly what someone told me.
Because we don't want to bother us. It's like pay bills like.
An unusual situation years ago. I was doing business in China. And I literally lit in, I don't know if it was right or wrong. I lit in China. I hopped on a plane. I got back before Chanukah. And I lit again. It was, still first night. Can you do that? I mean,
It's a very good question. I mean, the question is the same thing with davening. If your guy flies a Chodesh, so a guy told me it was a Chodesh, he left Australia, early morning Rosh Chodesh, and he came back, was Rosh Chodesh again here. He davened Shachris Musaf, and you come back and. No, but it came back to the same Tuesday. It was a Chodesh Tuesday in Australia, and he davened Shachris
I
Ording.
just came back last week, but I left at night, I got here in the day, so then we have night and day, so we put on filling again, davening again. Even though it's the same day, but you have night and day.
Right.
So, but if you're going just...
You left which night did you leave?
I left Thursday night, I got here Thursday 4 p.m.
So that is the question. They got here first at 4 p.m. Do you put on tefillin again now?
Yeah, because it was night and day.
Yeah, that's a big famous question. But the tefillin you should.
Here,
Did you daven mincha again?
I done Shabbos Mechamar.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the halacha that you do?
Well, you should daven with a tanai. Should have said that if I'm obligated, I'm davening Hashem Chiyav. If not, I'm doing Hashem.
But that's different than what...
It's the same idea. It's the same idea. Because it became night and day. It was the same night back. He left China.
No, it didn't become night.
Of course, you leave China. That's what happens.
Night again?
He flew at night and come. Of course.
Yeah, you fly into the night,
Of course, that's what happens.
sunset right.
But here, when he got back, it wasn't even Chanukah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying.
So now it became Chanukah again.
Yeah.